Okay, so when it comes to treating cancer, having a really clear roadmap is, well, it's everything. Today, we're going to decode the official NCCN guidelines for liver cancer. Think of it as taking these super complex medical standards and turning them into a straightforward clinical journey, step by step. So yeah, let's dive right in.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by figuring out what these guidelines are all about. Then we'll walk through the whole patient journey, from screening and diagnosis to staging and treatment. We'll also get into the really cool stuff, the genomics, and wrap up with something that's absolutely critical, the multidisciplinary team approach.
So, Section 1, the NCCN Guideline for HCC. This is all about the standard of care for liver cancer. So what exactly are these NCCN guidelines anyway? Well, to put it simply, they're not just, helpful hints. They're the recognized gold standard for cancer care, not just in the US, but all over the world.
And really, it's so much more than just a document. These guidelines, they're a consensus, a massive agreement from a whole panel of top experts. We're talking surgeons, oncologists, radiologists, you name it, all from the biggest and best cancer centers. And here's the key. They are constantly updating them based on the absolute latest research. So what you're seeing is always the most current, most effective way to treat this disease.
Okay, so let's move on to the second part, screening and diagnosis. This is all about going from identifying at-risk populations to getting a confirmed HCC diagnosis. And this is such a critical first step, right? Finding the cancer. But the real key isn't just looking for it. It's knowing exactly who you should be looking for it in.
Which leads us to this huge question. Who should be screened for HCC? I mean, this is so important because liver cancer can be really stealthy. It often doesn't show any symptoms until it's pretty advanced. And that's exactly why screening the right people isn't just a good idea, it's the only way we can catch it early when it's most treatable.
Well, the guidelines are super clear on this. There are basically two main groups of people who absolutely need regular screening. First, anyone with cirrhosis of the liver, doesn't matter what caused it. And second, patients who have a chronic hepatitis B infection. For these folks, keeping a close watch, it's not optional. It is the standard of care.
And you can see how this all unfolds step by step. It all starts with a routine ultrasound and a blood test, every 6 months. Now, if they find a little nodule, something about a centimeter or bigger, the next step isn't to panic. It's to get better pictures with a special MRI or CT scan. And these scans are so incredibly good, they can often confirm a diagnosis without ever needing a biopsy. That biopsy, it's really just a backup plan for the rare cases when the pictures aren't perfectly clear.
All right, Section 3, staging and treatment pathways. Because once a diagnosis is confirmed, the next piece of the puzzle is staging. And this isn't just about giving the cancer a label, no way. This is about building a completely personalized treatment map that's tailored to exactly how advanced the disease is. Okay, I know this staging table can look a little intense at first glance, but it's actually just answering 3 simple questions. T is for tumor, how big is it and where is it located? N is for nodes, has the cancer gotten into any nearby lymph nodes? And M is for metastasis, has it spread to other parts of the body? You put the answers to those 3 questions together, and boom, you've got the stage, which then guides the whole treatment plan.
But, and this is a really critical point, the stage is just one part of the story. The guidelines make it crystal clear that treatment decisions also hinge on the patient's liver function and their overall health, what doctors call performance status. I mean, think about it. Someone with an early-stage cancer but a really sick liver might need a totally different game plan than someone with the exact same stage but a healthy liver.
So, what happens when you catch the cancer early? Well, this is when the options on the table are all aimed at a cure. We're talking things like surgically removing the tumor, a full-on liver transplant, or for smaller, well-placed tumors, using things like ablative therapies to basically zap the cancer cells directly with heat or cold.
Okay, but what if the cancer's still just in the liver, but for whatever reason, surgery isn't an option? This is where the focus shifts to what are called loco-regional therapies, treatments aimed right at the liver itself. This could be something like TACE, which is pretty cool. It attacks the tumor by cutting off its blood supply while delivering chemo at the same time. Or it could be something like SBRT, which uses these super precise beams of radiation. And then for the most advanced disease, the stuff that's spread outside the liver, the whole strategy changes again. Here, the main weapon becomes systemic therapy. We're talking drugs that travel through your whole system to fight cancer everywhere. This includes modern targeted drugs and immunotherapy. And of course, clinical trials and supportive care are absolutely vital parts of the plan at this stage too.
Now for Section 4, And this is where things get really exciting. The genomic landscape. This is the present and future of molecular testing in HCC. We're going to look at how digging into the genetic makeup of a tumor is completely changing the game for how we treat liver cancer.
And this quote from the guidelines, it gets right to the heart of where we are today. Unlike some other cancers, we're not at a point where every single liver cancer patient automatically gets their tumor's genome sequenced. It's just not routine, at least not yet. But you can see how the guidelines are already cracking the door open, saying it should be considered, case by case.
So why is that door even open? Well, here's why. Scientists have pinpointed these common genetic culprits, specific mutations in pathways and genes that pretty much act like on-off switches for cancer growth. And figuring these out, that is the key to creating the next wave of super smart, targeted drugs.
This really breaks down that case-by-case idea perfectly. Routine testing for every single person? No, not indicated. But you should consider it in specific situations. Like if the tumor just looks weird under a microscope, or, and this is a big one, if it might get a patient into a clinical trial for a new cutting-edge drug.
And this is where the power of genomics really shines. Even though it's not routine, sometimes that testing can uncover a specific, actionable target. If a tumor has one of these rare gene fusions like RET or NTRK, guess what? We already have drugs specifically designed to shut it down. This isn't science fiction, this is real-deal precision medicine happening today.
Okay, but here's a really important what not to do. In a lot of other cancers, doctors test for biomarkers like MSI or PD-L1 to figure out who's a good candidate for immunotherapy. But for liver cancer, the guidelines are very clear. At this point, testing for these is not recommended to make that decision. The immunotherapy drugs seem to work for patients whether they have these markers or not.
Okay, last section, number 5, a multidisciplinary approach. So with all these complex pieces, screening, staging, treatment choices, genomics, how on earth do you pull it all together for one patient? Well, it all boils down to one single unifying idea.
And that idea is the multidisciplinary team. Seriously, this isn't just some buzzword. It's a real group of experts from all the different fields. Surgeons, oncologists, liver specialists, radiologists, pathologists, all sitting down together looking at one patient's case and coming up with the best possible game plan as a team. It's how you make sure every single angle is covered.
And just look at how the guidelines put it. They don't say it's a good idea or recommended. They say it is essential. That's a powerful word. It means this team meeting has to happen before a single treatment is started. It's not a suggestion. It's a fundamental part of providing top-notch care and getting the best possible outcome for the patient.
Which kind of brings us full circle and leaves us with this big question for the future. Right now, we've seen the deep molecular profiling is for special cases. But as the research just keeps getting faster and we get more and more targeted drugs, you have to wonder, right? When's the tipping point? When will a full genomic profile stop being the exception and become the absolute first step for every single liver cancer patient?
Everything we've talked about today comes from the NCCN's official clinical practice guidelines for hepatocellular carcinoma. It's a truly incredible resource that lays out the standard of care. Thanks so much for joining me to walk through it.